So looking back to what we did on Friday, remember that we were talking about how to change a fraction to a decimal. And we talked about how we can do long division, which is something that might be new to you because you did partial products like this in elementary school. And we talked about how to do that, but we also talked about how to type that into our calculator. And that was using this key, the N over D key, N numerator, D denominator, and typing in our numerator and denominator and hitting that double arrow key that would flop it back and forth from fraction to decimal, okay? So we tried that a few times. We talked about if you made your denominator either a 10, 100, or 1,000, that is another method that might be quicker than taking out your calculator. And we talked about how sometimes they terminate, but sometimes they repeat. And we discussed that line right there. It has a fancy word. We'll see if anyone got the fancy word. I did have 2 on Friday. We also discussed that sometimes we have mixed numbers, which means you have an integer whole number out front and then a decimal afterwards. And that's the same fraction key, but you had to hit second first to get that key. And there's multiple ways to do that. And I think you had some practice doing that. So today what we're going to finish up is what if you're given a decimal, how do you make it a fraction? And we touched on that a little bit when we talked about this one here, because that 25ths easily converted to a decimal. Okay, so again, reading up top what we have here, we can use a denominator of 10, 100, 1,000, or greater, any power of 10, because our place values match that. So as a review, decimal point, the first place after the decimal point is the tenths, and then the hundredths, and then the thousands, and then of course the 10,000s and the 100,000s and the millions. It goes on and on. So let's take a look at what we have here. We have some fish and we have 0.25 guppies. All right, how do we write that as a fraction? It's hard in this little spot. Let me try and make it bigger. All right, well, if we think about what 0.25 means, this is the tenths and this is the hundredths. So this means 25 hundredths. And we can reduce that by dividing by 25, because we know that in 100 cents, how many quarters are there? 4. So this would be 1/4. But I would like you to take out your calculator and type that in. Just type in 0.25 and then hit that double arrow key that looks like this and see what it gives you. You might have to hit enter also. Let me get my calculator out. 0.25, double arrow, enter. Gives you 1/4. Okay? So it's a little easier going this way, I think. 0.4, that's the tenths place. That means this is 4 tenths. We can simplify. We simplify by dividing by a common factor to 2/5. And again, just double check that on your calculator. Type in 0.4, double arrow, enter, and you should get 2/5. Easy peasy, right? 0.15, tenths, hundredths. This is 15 hundredths. We could divide 15 and 100 both by 5. Comes out to 3/20. But again, double check that on your calculator. Yep. And then we have 2/10. Hopefully you don't need your calculator for that, but you have it if you do. 1/5. Awesome. So I think that piece is a little bit easier. And so I'm going to ask you to pause this and try these. And then turn me back on and check. Oop, there's the bell. All right, so hopefully you've tried these on your own. This should be -1/5. This is 11/20. And this is, oh, this might have been tricky. Did you get 149/25? The thing you have to remember here is how to make this a mixed number. There is a key, and the key is right next to the fraction. It looks like this, x10 something. I can't even read it. But above it is a double arrow between a fraction and a mixed number. So if you hit second, let's write this down, second, and then that x10n key, enter, you will get 5/24. And some of you might have remembered that, but in case you didn't, make sure that you write down these keystrokes right here. That will help you. All right, next you're going to do the homework.